Welcome to Ruling on the Field.
This is the weekend everybody had circled.
NIL has changed college
Definitely
football.
worthy of winning that
The
award.
best player in the country.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the home of the world's biggest rodeo, where the stars light up the night underneath that Texas sky. Welcome to the show. Are you ready for a ride? Yeah, you better buckle up and hold on tight. Where the Bayou City streets meet the country roads. Welcome to the show.
Welcome back, Ruling on the Field. We got a special guest here with us today. Again, Grayson and Brady back here, but we're bringing along Rex Foster today, who's going to be bringing what he has as his first version of the mock draft. We're about a week and a half away from the NFL draft. We're going to do one more episode next week, but we're going to take a look at what he has right now, and he's going to run through why that is, why he has certain guys going to what teams, and what to look forward to in this draft.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me, Grace and Brady, and I'm excited to share what I have. This is my fifth edition of my mock draft for this upcoming draft in about 10 days here, and planning on doing another one. So yeah, thanks again for having me.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
This is, awesome time of year too, because college basketball is done. Masters just recapped. This is the first time since Super Bowl where it's felt like football is like the real focus again for the next week and a half.
Yeah, no, it's super electric, and the draft's always one of my favorite events of the year, and so yeah, I'm just super ready to get into it.
So I don't know if you know this, Rex, but Brady's a closeted Broncos fan in a way.
Oh,
I am, yeah.
welcome to the club. Welcome to the Bo Nix revolution. Where we're really we're excited to have you join us.
Yeah, my dad's a huge Broncos fan. So it's like they're always my second team, but big AFC Broncos fan.
Nice. Who's your first?
Probably the Lions.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
from Michigan. Makes
that's a good
sense.
one
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
All right, Rex, let's get into what you have. So everybody take a look. Here's the mock draft. Rex, let's run picks 1 through 10. Who do you have going? And just say who they are and anything that stands out to you.
Yeah, so I think the consensus right now with the first pick, Tennessee has it, and I think the consensus right now is Cam Ward. I'm not really expecting any dramatic trade up or trade down, and I think they're pretty settled in on Cam Ward, and so I think that's what it's going to be. Uh, it was only 2 years for Will Levis to kind of mess it up, and for the Titans to just move on and get Cam Ward. And so he's not my favorite quarterback prospect of like by any means over the past, I don't know, 2, 3 years, but he's the best quarterback available in this class. And if it hits right for Tennessee, they could be playoff contenders in the next 1, 2 years. And so that's what I've got for the first pick in the draft.
Travis Hunter. You have Travis Hunter at number 2. Obviously, I think that's kind of what everybody has right now. Do you think that Travis Hunter is going to be able to play both sides of the ball? I know we all know he wants to, and if he does, which side of the ball is that going to be if it's only one?
Yeah, no, and so that's a good question. That's the biggest question for him going into this draft class. And I think for the first 3 to 4 games, he's going to be able to play both positions, but playing both wide receiver and cornerback is just not a sustainable method to play football for your entire career. And so I think he's going to play the first 3 to 4 weeks at both positions, and he's either going to really excel as a cornerback or wide receiver. And I think he's going to finish the season playing one of those positions. I don't think he's going to finish the season playing both, but you'll see him occasionally, probably if he's predominantly a cornerback, play wide receiver for a few snaps, trick play here and there, vice versa with the cornerback. If Cleveland needs depth. But I think for the first month and a half of the season, he's going to play both and kind of see where he's needed most, because playing both positions is just not sustainable, especially at the pro level.
Yeah, and I think given the Browns quarterback situation, you got to think he probably plays more corner by like week 7 or 8. Whether it's Deshaun or Kenny Pickett, whoever's throwing them, or even Joe Flacco, they just grabbed.
Right.
Um, I just don't see wasting his talent at wide receiver with a C plus quarterback.
Right. No, and I totally agree. And I mean, you could see him for, I don't know, 3 or 4 plays when he's mostly playing cornerback. Just as a fun sprinkle into this really boring offense and just really sad organization. But I think drafting Travis is the way to go at number 2. Um, Especially after re-signing Myles Garrett. Abdul Carter's a great draft prospect. He's by far the best edge rusher in this draft. But I mean, you really need more holes to fill with this roster, and Travis really covers both. And yeah, he could be an incredible player in the NFL. So yeah, I've got him at 2.
There's one more pick that I think everybody has, and it's all 1, 2, 3, and that's Abdul Carter going third to the New York Giants right now. Right, probably the best edge rusher that we've seen in college football since Hutchinson, Thibodeau, that draft class back in 21. Just an incredible prospect, polarizing, very physical, and one of the fastest edge rushers we've seen in the last few years.
Yeah, and in my draft, actually, I've got Chicago trading up to number 3 in exchange for pick 10, 39, and 41. And so I think Chicago can really pounce here. And if they make an incredible offer, like their second round picks in this draft, that they can really steal it. And Joe Shane and Brian Dable, they're really fighting for their jobs here. So it might be unlikely that they trade Abdul Carter to another team unless they get an offer that's really enticing. But I mean, Chicago really addressed most of their problems this offseason, getting Joe Tooney and a bunch of other offensive linemen in free agency. And so if they trade up and get Abdul Carter, man, they are just getting an A-plus offseason this year. And so, I mean, having Abdul Carter as your cornerstone for defense just really solidifies all the moves that Ryan Poles has done this offseason. So that's what I had personally, and so yeah.
Real quickly, run us through about pick 4 through 10. Don't need too much detail because we'll come back to some questions about some of those guys as well. Just tell us who you got.
Yeah, so number 4, I've got the Patriots taking Will Campbell, the offensive lineman out of LSU, best offensive lineman prospect in the draft. Number 5, I've got the Jacksonville Jaguars selecting defensive interior Mason Graham out of Michigan. Number 6, I've got the Raiders picking Ashton Genty, the running back out of Boise State. One of the best offensive weapons in the entire draft to pair with Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly, which would be a very, very, very exciting addition to one of my rival teams, unfortunately. At pick number 7, I've got the New York Jets taking Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State. You lose Devontae Adams this offseason, put in Justin Fields as your quarterback. I think Tyler Warren could have a Brock Bowers type of impact in his rookie year. And that would really just enlight a very much needed spark for this kind of depressing Jets franchise at this point. Number 8, I've got the Carolina Panthers pairing Tetairoa McMillan, the wide receiver out of Arizona, as Bryce Young's lead wide receiver, who made incredible strides in the second half of his sophomore season. And I bought stock into that. And you're just pairing arguably the best receiver in this class with Bryce Young. So those are my picks from 4 to 8. Did you want me to do 9 and 10 finish it off?
Yeah, sure. We'll do 9 and 10 because 9 and 10 are going to be some of our questions for this podcast.
So at number 9, I've got the New Orleans Saints drafting Jackson Dart, quarterback out of Ole Miss. A little bit of a shocker over Shedeur Sanders. Kellen Moore gets his quarterback, who he's really loved throughout this entire draft process. Um, and at number 10, I've got the Giants, who traded with the Chicago Bears, selecting cornerback out of Michigan, Will Johnson.
There we go. So we have our top 10 that Rex has put together for the mock draft. Here's what we're going to get into for some questions, right? And we're going to go straight to it. Jackson Dart and Shedeur Sanders. For most of this process, and even at the beginning of some of the mock drafts coming out, there was talk about Shedeur being the number one seed. Now we see him in your draft falling to the Steelers at pick 21. Um, why Jackson Dart? Why do you predict that to happen?
Well, I mean, that's kind of just where it's trending right now. In Todd McShay's most recent mock draft, he actually had Jackson Dart at 9 to the Saints as well. And I kind of got some influence from that. Kellen Moore, the new head coach of the Saints, is apparently really in love with Jackson Dart. And with all the reports of Shedeur's maturity and poor interviews, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Shedeur, who I personally really love and who I really, really, really loved watching at CU, fall to the mid first round, late first round. I don't think he goes to the. I don't think he gets selected day 2. I think he's a first round quarterback. But the trend right now is Jackson Dart, and I wouldn't be shocked if he got picked inside the top 10. I wouldn't be shocked if the Jets picked him at number 7. And so that's a name right now who's really just skyrocketing. But that takes nothing away from Shedeur. I personally love Shedeur. He's tough as nails. He could throw it long. He could throw it in the slant. I mean, he's a very, 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 very accurate passer. And I'm not just saying that because I went to Colorado. I'm saying that because I've watched all of his games and I've seen his strengths, his weaknesses. And God, he is so tough and he is very accurate. And I feel like he can be a very good leader for a football team, despite some of his maturity and off the field shenanigans. But yeah, I've got Jackson Dart over Shedeur right now.
And that is the question for Shedeur because there's no doubt that he has the raw talent and he may, who knows, right? He could be up there with the same raw talent Cam Ward has. Right. The off the field stuff, maturity, that's always going to be a question. Jackson Dart, rough season at Ole Miss, right? And I picked him last year as my dark horse candidate for the Heisman. Kind of disappointed, but we've seen some guys where that happens in their final years of college, but we see him pan out to be great NFL quarterbacks. Gonna be interesting to see what happens with those two guys going forward. To Terrion McMillan. Brady, do you have anything on Terrion McMillan from watching him his tape in college?
Yeah, he was probably obviously the best receiver in college last year. I'm not as high on him as a lot of guys probably are. His combine wasn't great, obviously. I think there's probably a better spot here. I know he's not going to go above him. I do love Ibuka from Ohio State. I think he's probably going to be a better overall career when we look back 5, 10 years from now. I also think Golden's probably a better value pick here. Both really fast guys. I think Golden goes to the Cowboys at 12, or yeah, Cowboys at 12. McMillan's good. I just don't think he's heads and tails better than those other guys.
The argue for McMillan is his size, right? A little bit of like polarizing, like big size on him. But here's what he lacks, in my opinion, watching his tape. I think his release isn't great. I think he not fails, but he isn't as great at creating separation as you'd want to see out of a guy that you expect to be a future NFL superstar. That's why I'm not super high on him. But it goes either one of two ways. He's going to be great, or he's going to be a big bust.
Yeah, no, and those are two very valid points. This wide receiver class is not very strong, and this overall draft class also is not very strong. It's Don't get me wrong, there's talent throughout this draft class, but when you compare it to the 2024 draft class or the 2023 or even like the 2022 draft class, the talent is just not there, and you can really see that with this wide receiver prospect group. I personally love Matthew Golden. Every time I watched Texas, he would just jump out of the screen, and he was kind of a surprise player at Texas. This is what we thought Isaiah Bond would be. We thought Isaiah Bond would be a first round pick, and God, he might not even get selected until the third day during this draft process. It's kind of really sad. But to get back to your point, I personally think Tetsuroa McMillan is the best wide receiver prospect in this class, just simply because of his size. And when I think about Tetsuroa McMillan, I think of big receivers like Drake London or Calvin Johnson, who just overpower people, can catch passes in traffic. And I think the ceiling as a number one receiver is much higher for McMillan than you would say Matthew Golden or Ibuka, who I think is an incredible wide receiver, but I really see him more in the slot because that's what he played more in college. So do I think Tetsuroa is worth the hype at maybe picks 8 to 11? No, not necessarily. But when you're talking about really developing Bryce Young and for Bryce Young to really keep his momentum going, I think you have to pair him with a lead number one receiver.
100% agree. Next question, right? And I think we're all going to agree on who the best tight end in this draft is. The two tight ends that everybody's talking about, it's Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland. If you ask 100 people, 99 of them would say Tyler Warren is the best tight end. All three of us will agree on that.
Yeah, I'm like 95% there. And this is not just because I'm a Michigan fan and I watched Loveland all season. Here's what I'll say about the two. Warren is fantastic. He's a utility belt guy. You can play him anywhere, inside, outside, put him in the backfield like Penn State had him run like fullback sets this past year. He's going to be a problem for opposing defenses, no matter where you put him on the field.
Travis Hunter tight ends.
What'd you say?
Travis Hunter tight ends.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. I think Loveland is probably the better receiving tight end in terms of just like a get down the field on third down guy, great hands, great footwork. So it's kind of just what you value. Obviously, Loveland was fantastic in the red zone at Michigan, big play guy, but I think there's more you can do with Warren. And I will say, third tight end who's not getting any love. I know he played in the MAC. Harold Finn Jr. was fantastic this year.
Bowling Green.
Yeah, fantastic. He should have won the best tight end award last year. I don't know what his draft stock looks like. I know he's not a first or second round guy. Probably had to give a shout out to him because he was incredible.
Absolutely. What's your take between these two? What do you like about each? Tell me why, Rex.
Yeah, and so I'm really going to echo a lot of what Brady just said. I feel like Warren is a more versatile tight end, and every time that I watched Penn State, I mean, it was kind of similar to Matthew Golden. He would just like jump off the screen and just make these incredible plays, and his yards after catch were super impressive. Like after he caught it, he would break like a tackle, juke another guy, and like get an extra 10 yards. And it's very Brock Bowersy. And that's kind of the vibe that I'm kind of seeing is he's not necessarily like, yes, he's a tight end, obviously, but you can consider him more of a wide receiver and just like an offensive weapon in general. You don't really need to just label him as a tight end. As far as Colston Loveland, I think he's a first round prospect as well. And that's mostly going off of his 2023 season.
Yep.
With JJ. But I mean, you look at the stuff that he did with Michigan's quarterbacks this year, and he still produced. I mean, it wasn't obviously the production that he had in 2023, but I mean, he still was very impressive, even with lower level quarterbacks, and that's just very impressive, given that Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones or Justin Fields might be throwing the football to him. So I feel like that really does matter too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if you guys pay attention, watch a lot of Joel Klatt, see what he says. I'm mixed on Joel Klatt because I think he's too stuck on a few certain players. But a point that he made that I think is important to bring up, I think Tyler Warren is by far the more versatile, more talented tight end. But how does he fit into a NFL team system and a pro-style offense? You have to build a whole package around him. Whereas a guy like Loveland, he's the better route runner. better red zone guy typically between the two tight ends. I compare him probably to Jimmy Graham. That would be my
Yeah.
player.
And he's a bit taller than Warren too.
Yep, he is a bit taller, so that's his advantage. He's a tight end that plays like a wide receiver. So that's how he might fit into a pro style offense better. Look, they're two great tight ends. I'll say that, and we don't typically get more than one in a first round that are capable of being that way.
Right.
So, here's another one. Will Johnson, a guy that came into the year, there was talks about him being up at the 2-3 pick before the 24 season started. Season had a bunch of injuries, right? He had turf toe. He was out most of the year. He missed some games the year before on Michigan's championship run. There's two ways to look at it, and there's no doubt he is the best defensive back in this draft class.
Not named Travis Hunter.
Not named Travis Hunter, because I mean Travis Hunter is both sides of the ball. I'm talking like raw cornerback skill. He's the best cornerback in this class. But is he going to be the steal of the draft, or is he going to be a bust? Because you have to look at his injuries and how's that going to affect him? How is he going to be able to last in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean that's injuries and sustainability and just being on the field is Will Johnson's biggest red flag right now. However, I mean he's my type of corner. He's tall, he's lengthy. He like my type of defensive back is like Kyle Hamilton, very lengthy, can cover a lot of ground, and that's what Will Johnson is. And I mean, coming into this draft, he was a top 5, 6 prospect. So I mean, the ceiling's definitely there, and if he drops below 11, 12, a team's going to pounce and really just gamble on his potential. And Stingley had the same concerns, Derek Stingley, in the 2022 draft. And so, I mean, look at him now. He's arguably a top 2 to 3 corner in the entire league. So, yeah, you can dock injury concerns and sustainability for someone. But I mean, you gotta bank on the talent, and I feel like he's gonna go at least in the top 15.
Yeah. And one thing I will say about his injury history, obviously 2023 missed a few games with legitimate injuries. I think this year with the turf toe, sure, some of those were legit, but I think after like week 3 or 4, when they realized this Michigan team wasn't going to compete for another Big Ten title, part of me wonders how much of that injury was legit and how much of that was, why am I going to go risk a real legitimate injury on a 7-8 win team? And how much of that is his camp kind of saying like, hey, do you really need to play against Northwestern this week?
Yeah, and there's some truth to that. Last question about this mock draft, and I'll say this to you, Rex. How does this class stack up against, I mean, recent classes, last 5, 6 classes? Is this possibly one of the worst draft classes we've had?
It's over the past, I would say, half decade. It's definitely not one of the best. However, I mean, there's still talent in here, which people are kind of avoiding to really look at and dissect. However, I mean, it's not going to be like 2023 where you had C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson and Witherspoon and Bijan and I mean, but I mean, who really knows? Ashton Genty could be. I mean, if all goes well, a top 3, 4 running back coming into the next season, and Shamar Stewart could be leading the league in sacks in 2 years. And I mean, there's so much talent in this draft, but it's not as top heavy as 2022 or 2023 or last year. So I'll say that.
I'd say this is the draft that I mean, the draft with the most questions that I've
Right.
seen in probably a decade.
Right.
You don't know what you're going to get. There's a lot of whether or not how's their ceiling, how's their injury history, how's their head, right? How are they going to be able to last in this league? Here's the other thing I'd say. While I think that it might be a little bit of a weaker class, I think we judge that off of offensive production. This is a very talented defensive class, like up and down the
Oh
board.
yeah.
It's actually better than what we saw last year.
Yeah, and it's a very deep running back class too. But as far as interior defenders, nose tackles, edge rushers go, it's very deep, and you can find an incredible prospect on day two and round three. Even it's really deep. But as like I said previously, the quarterback class is pretty poor, the wide receiver class is pretty poor, and that's how a lot of these draft classes are usually graded based on how well quarterbacks perform or how well wide receivers perform and et cetera, et cetera. But I will mention also there's a lot of good tackle and guard talent and depth in this class too. Tyler Booker,
Yeah.
Armand Membu, Kelvin Banks, Josh Connerly, Josh Simmons, Gray Zabel out of North Dakota. I mean, there's so many awesome potential first round talent that you can get in the front five.
Yeah, this
Absolutely. Anything else, Brady?
this feels like I think same thing Rex was just saying. This feels like a draft where there's a lot of really good players, a lot of starters. There guys are going to start for 5, 6 years, long careers. There's not really a lot of like all pro or Pro Bowl guys.
Yeah.
It's like in the NBA, it's like you're going to have a lot of guys that start and average 10-5, but nobody's going to make an all-star team or a Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Look, it's going to be interesting. We'll see what it progresses to next week as the draft comes up. But here we're going to get out of the NFL a lot. Something that, I mean, Rex, I know you're not super into college football the way you are NFL, but as a Boulder guy, what are your thoughts today? Boulder decides to retire Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders jerseys this upcoming season, 1 year out of college.
Yeah. Not really shocked because it's something that Dion would do. Um, do I feel like it's a little outrageous and a little bit too much? Yes. Um, they only were Travis and Shedeur were only here for 2 years, didn't lead us to a playoff game. We did have a really good at end of year stretch where we won 5, 6 games in a row. That was awesome, but I don't think that should really equal your equal to be your jersey number being retired. And so it's pretty outrageous, but I mean, it's what Dion's going to do. And he loves Travis almost just as much, maybe even more than Shedeur. And I wonder what Shiloh thinks about the whole thing. I wonder if 21 should have been retired too. I feel like Shiloh feels a little bit left out.
Yeah, that was my first question is like, is Shiloh bummed or does he get like a tiny plaque in like the weight room that's like, hey,
Yeah.
Shiloh played here too during the span?
Yeah. He had one pick six over Colorado State, and that's it.
Solid career.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand Travis Hunter, but give it a few years. That's just my opinion on it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, is
When
this the quickest jersey retirement we've seen for a non-championship winning team?
Uh, Probably.
yes.
I
Got
mean,
to be up there, right?
you could definitely consider it to be one of the fastest. I find it I just find it pretty ridiculous, and it just adds more to the stigma that people outside of Colorado think about the University of Colorado, which is something I've defended and tried to defend again and again and again with the NIL deals and like the Shedeuring, and I've tried to defend it for so long, and it was cool. Don't get me wrong, rooting for CU over the past 2 years was so fun, but I don't know. I can understand the hate when you're looking at a school that was just a poor football program and gets all these recruits. So, but I mean, what can I say? It's very Dion.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. But I mean, it's fun. I do want to go to that spring game in a
You
few
should
weeks.
come. You should come. I'm probably going to be there. So
Yeah. Last thing, and before we end this, big news out of Tennessee this week. Nico Amiliava enters the transfer portal after an NIL dispute with Tennessee. Josh Heupel. Apparently, Dan Lanning put word in Heupel's ear that Amaliava's dad was shopping around a little bit. He was shopping around the NIL market, and they parted ways with him. What do you see for his future? Do you think there's any teams you see him at next year?
Brady, you can go at this if you
Yeah.
want.
I mean, the initial report was North Carolina was a front runner, which sounded ridiculous from the start. There's no way Belichick's going to deal with that. It came out this afternoon. They're 100% out on that.
They're looking
Um,
at the guy from. I saw it. I,
UNC is?
I think that's right.
yeah, but that I never bought that report. There's no way Belichick's going to deal with a college kid that wants upwards of $4 million a year. Um, Obviously, he can't transfer anywhere in the SEC with the spring transfer portal. It's said that USC, UCLA are probably the top two. Tulane's in there as well. Makes sense. He's a California kid. I think he's from Southern California. It's insane. The fact that they were thinking about sitting out the bowl game because their client only agreed to play 12 games and there's a 13th that they have to play is nuts. And I've gone back and forth about it. I was super pissed. I'm not even a Tennessee guy. Super pissed at Nico when the news first broke. I was like, this is just selfish, ruining college sports. I've kind of calmed down a little bit and realized it's a tale as old as time. Super talented kid that's just surrounded by people addicted to giving him terrible advice. Like his camp should come out and be like, "Hey, this is not on him. This is on us." And what's his name? I think McShay said earlier that a lot of teams are looking at it now as like he's radioactive. Like we don't want to touch him.
Yeah.
It would mess up our locker room, mess up our NIL stuff. Like he's kind of become a cancer in the last 48 hours.
I'll say this as a story, right? Because I played D2 baseball, but there were some guys in our league that were not on my team, but there were some guys in our league that were bounce backs from like big time Division I schools. Why? Oh, they got kicked off the team, right? Like behavioral issues. There's a reason. It's like a cancer. There's a reason that like big schools when they don't want you, who knows what's going to happen to you? Because I don't think any of these big programs are going to want to take him. So it's going to be interesting. That's your Heisman pick for next year.
Yeah, it was. I don't think he'll put up Heisman numbers at Tulane, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Rex, thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Take
Go
care.
blue.